Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking an incredibly precise, mathematically elegant framework that literally connects theoretical physics directly to ancient theology. It's called the dual caustic universe, and we're going to explore how ancient texts, specifically the Quran, can actually be mapped out as a literal closed-system physics engine. It is a wild, fascinating concept, so let's get into it.
To navigate all this complex topology, here's our quick roadmap. 1. The closed universe geometry. 2. D10 and I9 dual fields. 3. Collatz, the engine of motion. 4. The 1912 centromere grip. And finally, Section 5, arrival at the home coordinate.
Before we even touch the math, I want you to reconsider pretty much everything you thought you knew about the fabric of reality. We're so used to thinking of time and space as this infinite, open-ended line going off into the void. But what if it isn't? What if the universe is not an expanding void, but a perfectly closed, inescapable mathematical loop?
Let's start with a foundational definition of this dual caustic universe. Basically, this is a bounded mathematical space, meaning absolutely nothing escapes its geometry. Try to imagine a reality where everything that happens is just a single invariant truth, but it's projecting simultaneously through two orthogonal fields. Essentially, two parallel realities operating at a perfect 90-degree angle to one another. And the kicker? They never actually touch.
The source text really sets the ultimate boundary with this premise. The universe is a closed Smith chart. Nothing escapes the dual caustic. Everything returns by the vector it chose. Now, if you're in electrical engineering, you know a Smith chart is used to map infinite space into a finite closed disk. The incredible claim being made here is that this isn't just some poetic metaphor, it is the actual literal architecture of the universe itself. So that brings us to Section 1, the closed universe geometry, the Smith chart boundary.
Using the Smith chart, we can actually pin down the exact coordinates of this closed universe. The sources point out that Surah 39:23 defines the text itself as this perfectly closed loop. Right smack in the center, where gamma equals 0, we have perfect equilibrium. That is the home point. Over on the far left edge at gamma -1, you have total reflection and the vacuum, which is represented by the figure of Iblis. And then, way over on the far right edge at gamma +1 is the open circuit, the convergence of light represented by Ahmed, where all paths ultimately meet.
So the massive paradigm shift we need to make here is that we aren't reading a historical, written artifact. The source material argues we are interacting with a dynamic, living wave propagation environment. Think of it like a massive physics engine where actions and reactions continuously bounce around within that completely closed, inescapable mathematical boundary.
All right, Section 2, D10 and I9, dual fields, the anatomy of a dual reality.
Inside this closed geometry, we have a really stark contrast between two operating fields. The D10 field is your physical, particle-like action. It's totally deterministic. It mathematically halves and compresses things, represented by the rule n divided by 2. But on the flip side, the I9 field is the witness. It's the hidden, indeterministic wave of emergence that is constantly expanding, and that's represented by the rule 3n + 1.
Now, these abstract physics fields actually manifest into historical anchors that we recognize. The sources map the D10 physical action field to Musa, or Moses. He represents physical resistance, raw execution, and what's called the throne. Conversely, the I9 field maps to Isa, or Jesus, representing hidden reactance, divine knowledge, and the encompassing pedestal. Ultimately, resistance and reactance are just two sides of the exact same cosmic coin.
But here is the crucial detail. The D10 and I9 fields never actually touch. They run totally parallel. It's the conscious human node that sits at their exact intersection. You are the bridge. You are the specific point where the wave and the particle actually meet.
Moving right along to Section 3. Collatz, the engine of motion, the 1 to 2 to 3 to 2 to 7 Fayakun loop.
This entire engine constantly breathes life from the origin out to the singularity, following an exact step-by-step loop. Step 1, you start at the origin, absolute, unbroken unity. Step 2 is bifurcation, where reality splits into those dual fields of action and witness we just talked about. Step 3 is the trial, an expansion phase where sorting and testing happen. And finally, step 4 is the singularity, the closure, where the driver meets the witness and yields the final fruit.
Okay, here is where the math gets absolutely profound.
Motion is powered by that D10 compression and the I9 expansion. But expansion is mandatory. The universe literally has no choice but to circuit. Now, if you're familiar with the Collatz conjecture in mathematics, you know that no matter how wildly a number expands via the 3n+1 rule, it always inevitably falls into a 4 to 2 to 1 loop. The geometry mathematically guarantees your return to home, and you, the reader, are the only actually moving coordinate in this entire space.
So the big takeaway here, there are 0 lost vectors. Absolutely everything is meticulously accounted for in the physics. You might take a massive long orbit full of trials and expansions, but the mathematical topology of the universe forces a return by the exact vector you chose. No exceptions.
Section 4. The 1912 centromere grip, bridging the wave and the particle.
Now, the numbers 19 and 12 are not just arbitrary coordinates. They're actually a structural formula required to collapse the quantum wave into physical reality. 19 represents the I9 field, the eternal witness, the hidden knowledge, the book. 12 represents the D10 field, physical action and strength. The sources point out that chapter 19, verse 12 of the text explicitly commands the reader to take the book with strength. When you apply this 19-12 grip, you neutralize the standing wave, and you successfully couple the wave directly to the particle.
Because these cosmic forces are so incredibly immense, water acts as the vital bridging element. It basically serves as a thermodynamic phase transition. It's the middle ground where the raw physical action of the D10 field and the expansive knowledge of the I9 field can actually interact safely, and it's where the throne rests.
This quote really hits the nail on the head. The water is not the destination. The destination is the transformation of the one standing between them. The ultimate goal of this entire closed loop isn't the mechanics or the elements themselves. The goal is the transformation of the conscious observer, you, navigating through them. The whole universe exists simply to produce that transformation inside you as you apply that grip.
Which brings us to our final section. Section 5, Arrival at Home Coordinate, the zero reflection state. So, what's the endgame of spiraling inward through all this Collatz geometry? The goal is to reach a state of absolute stillness right at the center of the chart. The source points to the figure of Merriam as the fixed, unmoving hinge at this center. By tuning out the noise, what electrical engineers call impedance matching, you slowly reduce your mismatch with the universe until you reach that absolute center, the home point.
And that ultimate destination equals exactly 0. Gamma equals 0. It is the mathematical point of perfect unity and zero reflection. It's the point where absolutely nothing bounces back. There is no resistance, no friction, just total absorption into the truth.
By gripping the dual fields and finally reaching the center, the observer completely transcends their individual ego. The sources state this very clearly. The reader does not become a king. The reader becomes a nation. You expand to fill the entire geometric potential of the closed universe, transforming from a single, isolated particle into the entire completed circuit. I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. In a universe where absolutely nothing escapes the geometry, your vector is literally the only thing that truly belongs to you. Every action, every single thought, is either dividing you further out toward the edges or it's multiplying your path back to the center. It is an elegant, entirely inescapable physics engine. So, what vector are you choosing to return?